the Mets, meet the Mets. Step right up and greet the Mets. Bring your kiddies, bring your wife. Guaranteed to have the time of your life, because the Mets are really socking the ball, knocking those home runs over the wall. East side, west side, everybody's coming down to meet the METS Mets.
What's up, Mets fans? Welcome back to the channel, Mets PostGame Show. Inexcusable. Absolutely inexcusable. Cannot happen. The game was in hand. You had the pitchers that you wanted in the bullpen in the ball game. They got to put zeros up on the board. They got to hold the lead. Nothing else to say, right? This is not fully on the pitchers because the offense only gave 2 runs. They had opportunities to get extra runs. They did not. 2 solo home runs by Martinez and Vientos, and that was it. Right? You got Jose Butto coming in a tough spot in the 7th. Got out of the inning with an excellent play by Francisco Lindor, holding on to that tag, making sure that he didn't, because a lot of middle infielders would just walk away after they didn't get the tag down. He stuck with it, got out of that inning. Excellent play by Iglesias, getting that play, covering the bag, and just making a diving catch and basically feeling for second base, getting that out the end of the inning. This was a game you got to win. Everything was pointing in the Mets' direction. I talked about the comebacks earlier this morning on Mets Talk Live about the Padres. How they win ball games is comebacks, right? They don't score a lot of runs with runners in scoring position. Where runners on base, they have issues with that. They come back late in ball games, and the home run can kill you. Jose Butto left the ball right over the plate, right? I know there's some people going to say, oh, you should have brought in Maton. Oh, you should have brought in Diaz. Guys, you cannot continue to complain about the pitchers that you're trusting in the bullpen. Butto is trusted. Could you bring Phil Maton in? Sure. But he might have gave up the home run. People wanted Diaz in. Well, Diaz just gave up a home run, right? Let's not talk about who should have been in the ball game at that point when this wasn't Ottavino in there. This wasn't Foley in there. This wasn't anybody that is not the main guys in your bullpen, that any one of them could have been in that spot. And everybody should be okay with that. Jose Butto got out of the gym the inning before. Why not put him back out there? There's no guarantee that Maton would have got it done. Of course, you're going to say it afterwards, after he gave up the home run, the 2-run homer to tie the ball game. We're going to say that. Todd, I understand that, but he's one of your guys trusted in your bullpen. Right? You can't just say, oh, well, he had a bad game the other day. If you do that to all your pitchers, you're never going to have a guy ready to go. You can't complain about the pitcher. Look, this wasn't Ottavino in the ball game. If Ottavino or anybody else other than Nunez wasn't going to be available today, they're protecting his arm. Obviously, he's just come back from injury. So there was Maton, there was Diaz, and it was Butto. Those are the 3 guys that he was going to have going late in the ball game today. That was a fact. 2 of your 3 guys that were in this ball game gave up home runs in Butto and Diaz. The game's on the offense, guys. Jose Quintana, right? Everybody wants him out of the rotation. He gave you 6 1/3 innings of 0 runs. That's a game you got to win. You can't lose those games that Quintana gives you. That was an excellent performance by Quintana, and you blew it. You can't score 2 runs. And remember what I talked about, right? The Mets have been scoring a lot of runs early and a lot of runs late. The fourth through seventh inning is where they have the biggest issue scoring runs. Well, they did that today, but it was only one run in each of those innings. Nothing else the rest of the game. Bases loaded, 1 out. Didn't get the job done. You could have had a couple of more runs there. You keep teams like this in the ball game, there's a potential of what just happened coming to fruition. That's what it was right there. Anybody, if I would have said you got a 2-run lead with Jose Butto coming in the 8th inning, who would have said no about that? By the way, guys, he was pitching to the bottom of the order. The only problem Butto had was walking the number 9 hitter. That killed him. You can't walk the number 9 hitter. Throw a fastball down the middle. If the 9th hitter hits it over the wall, it's still a 2-1 ball game. That's where he messed up. Look, anybody can hang a breaking ball or throw a fastball, leave it right over the plate, and Profar killed it. Anybody can do that. Where he got killed was walking the number 9 hitter. You don't walk the number 9 hitter. Let the guy hit it over the fence. It's a 2-1 ball game. Because if Butto would have given up the home run to the 9 hitter, I guarantee you Diaz would have been in the ball game. So we can't say, oh, well, he can't. Oh, why would you put Butto in that spot? All of a sudden, everybody wants Maton. Nobody wants Maton in there all of a sudden. And now people want Maton. Oh, you should have put Diaz in there. That's what I saw on social media as well. Like, guys, stop saying it after the fact. It makes you look really stupid. This is like an analyst coming on after the game saying, well, he shouldn't have thrown that ball. Oh, we shouldn't have done that on 3rd and 16. Why throw the ball on 3rd and 16? You should have just ran it and punted it instead of throwing the interception for them to run it back. That's what we're doing here. That's what some of you guys are doing. The fact is, it's very simple. Jose Butto didn't get the job done. Edwin Diaz didn't get the job done. Didn't give his offense an opportunity to come back in the 10th with a runner on second. They both failed. That's it. Guys you trust failed today. Quintana did his job. The offense gave you a lead. Should have done more, but they gave you a lead. 2-run lead should be more than enough for Jose Butto and Edwin Diaz to finish the game. They both failed today. That's it. So now that Jose Butto has been giving up a couple of fly balls and hasn't been good in his last couple of outings, what are you going to do? Pitch him in the 4th inning? Not pitch him at all? No. He's one of your trusted guys out of your 4 guys in the back end of the bullpen. And that is Butto, Nunez, Maton, and Diaz. If they use any of those guys later in the ball game, that's it. There's no complaining there. There should be no complaining. They didn't get the job done. That is it. Stop making it more difficult and more confusing than it is. 2 runs is not good enough. They had opportunities. That base is loaded with 1 out where they didn't get no runs in. That killed them. It didn't look like it was going to kill them, but it ended up killing them in the long run. Maybe if they would have got a run or 2, it would have been 4-0. That 2-run homer might have not hurt you. But you kept them a 2-run ball game, a bloop and a blast, or in this case, a walk and a blast, got them right back into the ball game. That's it. Too many runners left on base. I continue to talk about this team, except for 1 or 2 players in this lineup that hits with runners in scoring position that does the job. Everybody else, right? Pete Alonso, when did he get his hits? Nobody on. He had opportunities with a couple of people on base, didn't get the job done. He's not the only one, but the guys that were on base were the ones that have been driving in the runs. You know, at some point, it's got to be Alonso. It's got to be Nimmo. It has to be. This is the issue that we continue to talk about. How many more hits is Alonso going to get with nobody on base? He had a couple of hits today. Nobody was on base. Lovely. Yeah, I know. Easy, and I think Hector. I think I missed that part, but I believe Hector wanted Maton. I don't know if he said it before he gave up the home run or after he gave up the home run, but that doesn't work. That doesn't make no sense. Why? Butto was perfectly fine. He didn't throw 45 pitches And then, he didn't throw 35 pitches, and then they brought him back out for the 8th. He got 2 outs. Bring him back out there. Why not? Because, we're thinking like, oh, well, because Budo gave it up, let's bring in this guy because he might not give it up. 2 out of the 3 guys that Mendoza had available in the late game was Buto, Maton, and Diaz. 2 out of the 3 gave up home runs. That's it. The game is on the offense. And your 2 relievers didn't finish the job. That's it. We're trying to make it more difficult than it actually is. That's it. It's very simple today. The Braves lost. They had an opportunity to gain a full game. They ended up being 2.5 games back still with the off day tomorrow, going to Chicago. Going to Arizona. Excuse me. What are you gonna do? Yeah, he left 1 bad pitch. Look, the pitch that he threw to Profar, anybody and their mother, the best reliever to the worst reliever can throw a pitch like that. The walk to the 9-hitter was the killer. You don't walk the 9-hitter. How many times you've seen it in baseball over and over and over again? He had the bottom of the order. Why use Maton for the bottom of the order? He had 8-9-1 coming up. He got the 8th hitter. He walked the 9th hitter. You can't do that. Like, I don't understand the mindset of pitchers. Like, I know the catcher and pitcher have their little, earpiece and buttons telling them what pitches and everything like that. Whoever decided to throw a ton of breaking balls, because if you look at that at bat against the 9-hitter, there's a lot of breaking balls in that account, that at bat. Why? Throw fastballs, you're up by 2 runs. If the number 9 hitter hits a home run, you still got a 1-run lead. If they hit back-to-back, well, you had a bad outing. Well, I wouldn't say Buto didn't have it. He got out of the inning. Like, I know it wasn't like, perfection, but we're just assuming that Maton would have got the job done and would have not give up the 2-run homer. I can guarantee you, I love Hector, but I guarantee you, if Maton would have came in, he would have said, oh, you should have kept Budo in, or you should have brought Diaz in. 2 of the 3 guys gave up home runs. So you're just going with the guy that didn't do anything wrong. So, right, again, the Buto, Maton, Diaz thing, it sounds nice in, when you put it on paper, but they also got to get the job done. Buto needed to get the job done. It's not like he threw 40 pitches. He was at pitch 22, 23, which is perfectly fine for Buto. We also had to worry, you can worry about the 8th inning in that spot, absolutely. But as a manager, you also got to worry about if this game does go to extras, right? Do you want Stanek? Do you want Ottavino coming in the 10th inning of a ball game? I'm probably not. But the manager has to think about that. Well, I don't know if they're running Buto into the ground. He's one of your trusted bullpen arms. They didn't get the job done. Right? Again, you can't walk the number 9 hitter. I'm sorry. We can talk about the home run all we want. You can't walk the number 9 hitter. The Mets are lucky tomorrow. No one will talk about this loss. They will talk about Judge and a crazy Little League World Series ending. I didn't watch the Little League World Series. I truly don't care about the Little League World Series, to be quite honest with you. But no, easy. Again, look, there's a couple of you on this channel that have killed Mendoza enough times. And Easy, you're one of them at times. But Mendoza didn't do nothing wrong here. Because we knew what the verdict was. We know what the people were going to say if he brought in Maton in the 8th inning and he gave up the home run. Oh, you should have been Botu in. Oh, you should have been Diaz in. Like, that's what's going to happen. So it just didn't get the job done, right? Walking that 9-hitter was a dangerous game to play. And then he left the ball right over the plate to Profar. And then Diaz left the ball over the plate as well. It was a cement mixer slider that didn't break at all. It just spinned over the middle of the plate. I mean, what are you gonna do? 2 out of your 3 trusted arms didn't get the job done. Yeah, exactly. But like Diaz slider, he leaves those pitches like even when he's on, he'll throw that cement mixer that doesn't move at all. It just spins over the middle of the plate. But when guys are expecting certain pitches, and by the way, Diaz was behind in the count when he threw that slider. So the guy was rearing up for something middle in, and he got a pitch middle in. And he crushed it. Right? But we're going to go back to the offense. Where was the offense? Once again, right? JD Martinez, I said this in the pregame or in the Mets Talk Live earlier this morning. What does JD Martinez do? Yeah, he might not have, he might not go 4 for 5, but he'll have one big hit and a couple of bad at-bats, which he did today. I think he had 2 hits. He went 2 for 4, 2 for 5. He had that home run. Like I said, he'll have that one big hit, and then he'll have a couple of bad at-bats. That's just what JD Martinez does. And then Vientos crushes the ball to center field, or right center. That was it. Bases loaded, 1 out, no runs scored. You got to sack fly. And again, what happened in that at-bats? They struck out. Again, for all the analytical people that don't care about strikeouts, putting the bat on the ball could have actually got you a run in that spot. Even if it was on the ground and a possible double play ball. Maybe the runner beats it out and you get the run. But striking out benefits nothing. So, and I talked about that on Mets Talk Live earlier this morning. That the analytical people that don't care about strikeouts or average, well, some people who are complaining on X are very big on analytics because they post it all the time. Why are you complaining then? That's exactly what you wanted them to do. You don't care about average and you don't care about strikeouts. So what's the problem? You put the ball in play, something can happen. Just like yesterday. The Mets put the ball in play. The Padres made a couple of mistakes. And the Mets delivered and made them costly mistakes that the Padres made. The Mets played almost a flawless game today. Great defensive plays. Quintana pitched his ass off. And your 2 trusted guys in your bullpen didn't get the job done. And your offense that had opportunities didn't give insurance runs. Again, I talk about this all the time. When you got a lead and you don't add on, you expect these guys to put up zeros all the time. And to be perfect, Jose Butto had to be almost perfect in that inning. He had to be perfect. 1 walk, the tying run's coming to the plate. Edwin Diaz obviously had to be perfect. He gave up any crooked number, the game's over. So there you go. Here's your game. You had an opportunity to gain a game on the Braves and the Padres. You don't gain nothing on the Braves. You lose the game to the Padres. So you get day off tomorrow. You're playing the hottest team in baseball in the Arizona Diamondbacks. It's going to be a tough series. The Mets should have won 3 out of 4. They split. I think some people in the beginning of the series would have took a split. People thought we were going to get swept. People thought we were going to lose 3 out of 4. Again, a split is not good enough. Not in our situation right now with 31 games left to play. But you got to go to Arizona. You got to win this series. Because, as I said earlier, winning series, the Mets didn't win this series, but they split the series. You win series here. And I was thinking I was doing the Mets. I think if you split, I think the Mets have one more 4-game series, if I'm not mistaken, in the season. If they split that and win the majority of the rest of their series, they can have around 86, 87 wins, give or take a game or two, one or two games, one 87, 88, 86 to 88. They can do that. But they played well. This was the only close game in the series. We were listening to, watching the 8th and the 9th inning in the last 3 nights. Games were over. Ricardo, I think it is too. I think it is with Philly, and I think it's at Citi Field. So the Mets put themselves in a spot now. You got to win. You got to win series. You can't squander the opportunities that the Braves give you. There was an opportunity today to gain on 2 teams in the wild card, in the Padres and the Braves. Braves more importantly. But if you would have won today, you would have been 3.5 from the Padres and a game and a half from the Braves. Now you're 4.5, 5.5 from the Padres and still 2.5 from the Braves. Yeah, Todd, 7 games left. I think the Phillies won today, so I think the Mets are 8.5 out of the division. Again, that's a pipe dream. If it happens like that and it ends up being like that, it sucks. But listen, the Mets played pretty well in this series. I think they outplayed the Padres in this series. The Padres didn't do much in this series. They've won a lot. I talked about this earlier today. They won a lot of their games during their hot streak on comebacks. They did it again today. That's how they win. They usually don't get a lot of runs scored with runners on. They don't drive them in often, but they're extremely good late in games, especially with comebacks. Easy, he hit a couple of balls hard, but again, look at the spots that he hit him in. Like, what he had, 1 RBI in this series? Had a couple of hits, nobody on base again. Like, I'm not going to just put this game on Alonso. There was other guys that did absolutely nothing today. Marte struck out with bases loaded, 1 out in that inning. So, and what am I expecting from Marte right now? He's just coming back from injury. He is a good hitter, but, he hasn't played in almost 2 months? I can expect him this timing to be off a little bit. So I'm not going to kill Marte there. But there was opportunities. How about Pete? Give me a solo home run that you love to do. That would have been an extra run. No. A couple of lowly base hits. A couple of, weak at-bats. And then nothing again. So they didn't get the job done. The pitching, Quintana, you can't get a start like that and lose that ball game, especially with 97% of the fan base wants Quintana out of the rotation. This is why I like Quintana in the rotation, because this is a guy, veteran, that will find it. He's not going to be a great pitcher. I don't know what people were expecting of Quintana, but he'll give you excellent outings like this, and you got to win those ball games. Yeah, Ricardo, but you know what? Terrence is a backup catcher. Terrence threw out the runner. I know Lindor put the tag on him, but he did throw out the runner, got it there quick enough where the runner had to try to make a little bit of a sideways slide that took him off the bag. So, no, Jay, 2 runs doesn't win many games, but you know what? 2 runs should have won you the game today. Again, go back to Buto. Not going to kill Buto in that spot. But he walked the number 9 hitter. Look, I'm not going to kill him for the home run. The home run, anybody can throw a ball over the plate and miss their spot, and the ball goes over the wall. That walk to the 9 hitter can't happen. That's where he got hurt. That's what killed him. If he would have gave up the solo home run to the 9 hitter because he threw the ball over the plate, he probably would have came out of the game. It would have probably been Diaz coming in. But what are you doing in that spot? Why throw a ton of breaking balls to the number 9 hitter? Why play games with him? That is on Terrence and that is on Buto or whoever was calling the pitches. Usually it's the catcher and the pitcher deciding that. It's not really the manager anymore, especially with a veteran like Terrence. Jay, I don't want to say the Mets simply aren't good enough. All right? The Braves simply aren't good enough. They're barely hanging on to a wild card. Right? The Mets are in it. 2.5 games doesn't mean you're not good enough. They're good enough. They're good enough. Who cares if they're struggling to make a third wild card? Arizona Diamondbacks struggled to make the third wild card last year. They made the World Series. The Phillies in 2022 struggled to get the third wild card in 2022, made the World Series. Ricardo, they're better than us. Yeah, sure. But what does that mean? If the Mets would have took 3 out of 4, you wouldn't have said the Padres are better than us, would you? So they didn't do the job today. Right? Come back in Arizona on Tuesday, win the series. If anybody says that, oh, we must sweep the series, you're nuts. All right? We want the sweep, obviously, but you got to take the series. Again, I don't want to keep on repeating myself, but I'm trying to get it into you guys' heads. You win series. 4-game series is hard to win 3 out of 4. A lot of the times, I think it's 84% of the time, 4-game series end in a split. There was Met fans going into that series thinking that they were going to lose 3 out of 4 or get swept. They didn't do either. They were more likely to win 3 out of 4, but didn't finish the job. No, Jay, I agree with you. It's a huge loss. It's a loss that cannot happen, especially late in the season. But they do have time to make up for it. Again, they can't, flounder here. It's a tough loss, but come out in Arizona and take care of business. Because if you win 2 out of 3, you're going to face the White Sox next. I know the Mets have problems with teams that are inferior and not good, but you are playing a White Sox team who's the worst team in baseball. I always get nervous about that because you just never know. They're not playing for nothing. They don't have no pressure at all. They're playing just to play out the string, but they want to crush teams and crush their playoff hopes, right? These guys, even though they're a terrible team, individually, they have pride. So we'll see. Well, yeah, the bullpen did screw us today, but you know what? It wasn't the guys that nobody wanted in the bullpen. Very simple. Right? Buto, trusted, didn't do the job. Diaz, trusted, didn't do the job. What are you going to do? Now everybody, you got to bring in Maton. Okay. Why did we just assume that Maton was going to do the job? I hate that aspect of a fan base. Stop complaining. Stop saying the opposite that happened because of the result. It is such a terrible thought process by a fan. This is not just Met fans. This is a lot of baseball fans, right? I hear Yankee fans all the time complain about it. Why did Aaron Boone put in this guy? Why are they doing that? Well, why are you complaining after the results happen? Sometimes it's the right move, but it didn't work out. You can't kill a manager for the player that should be in that game not getting the job done. No, Daniel, it's not. I didn't make excuses why the Mets lost. I said Buto didn't do the job. Diaz didn't do the job. But we're blaming the wrong people. There was some, not here, but I believe on Hector, I think somebody brought it up in the chat that on Hector's channel, were complaining and blaming Mendoza. Why? Everybody just assumes Maton was going to do the job. Ricardo, I agree. Nothing Mendoza can do in that spot except second guessing him after the result happened, because I didn't see nobody on X bitch, moan, and complain over and over again that Budo shouldn't have been in the 8th inning. It was after he gave up the home run that I seen a couple of people blame. Some blame Mendoza. Some said, "Oh, Maton should have come in the game." Why? Easy. I agree with you, but it's not even just about the numbers. Buto has been going 2 innings, or at least more than an inning, all the time. That's what he does. This is not something new where Jose Buto hasn't pitched more than an inning in 2 months. This is what Jose Buto does. They did it with Nunez yesterday. Jose Buto does this. This is not something that Mendoza pulled out of his hat and said, "Oh, I'm just going to put Buto for an extra inning. Why not?" It was 5 outs. Buto easily goes 2 innings. He didn't get the job done. Look, this game, obviously the majority of this game is lost because of the offense. The offense could have put up a couple more runs. They did not. A couple more insurance runs. The 3 runs might have not mattered. So the offense didn't do enough with runners on base. That terrible bases loaded with 1 out, no runs, that hurt. Didn't seem like it hurt at the time. Well, it hurt at the time, but getting later in the ball game, you kind of put that out of your head a little bit. All right, we got the lead. Vientos with a nice home run, making it 2-0. All right, let's go. Right? I'm not sitting there thinking that Jose Buto is going to blow it. Or Diaz going to blow it. We had the right pitches at the right time. Yeah, exactly, Jay. Yeah, I mean, Diaz has been good in his outings over the last probably, 8-9 outings. But Diaz is, look, there's no excuse for Diaz today, right? You got to get to the 10th inning now. Right? That is his job at that moment. But he hasn't really got a lot of save opportunities. I think Coleman said 1 save opportunity in August because the Mets either been getting blown out or blowing the other team out. That's how it's been. But Arthur, he didn't have him in too long. He got the first out. He walked 1 batter in that inning. Just because you think that Diaz could have came in and gave up the home run anyway. So, again, you can't complain about the result and not complain before that. Jose Buto got the first out of the inning and walked the 9-hitter. Sure, you could have put in Diaz in that spot, but you don't know what would have happened if they would have put in Diaz. What if Diaz would have given up the 2-run homer? Then what? You're going to put Diaz in an extra inning in the 9th inning to try to hold the tie game? No. Guess what's going to happen? You're going to have to put Maton in. So now you just use 3 pitchers, and you're still in the same position you were going into the 10th or possibly going into the 10th. Maton could have gave up the home run in the 9th, and the game would have been over. Different combinations doesn't mean you would have got different results. Just because the results is not in our favor doesn't mean that, oh, well, you should have put Diaz in. Should have put this guy in. We're just assuming that would have got done properly. Yeah, he didn't. He walked, if I'm not mistaken, he walked 1 batter in the 8th. I'm sorry, the 7th. But he got the 2 outs. Yeah, obviously the one was the throwing the runner out, but he was on the mound for that, wasn't he? It's not like he threw 37 pitches in that 2 outs in the 7th. He didn't. He was on pitch 21 when he gave up the home run, 22 when he gave up the home run. Yeah, Ricardo, and you would have burned 3 pitches with 4 outs, but no guarantee that the results would have been different. That's what annoys me so much about when people talk about stuff like that. What did you want Mendoza to do there? Because if he would have took him out, people, why are you bringing in Diaz in a spot where it's not a clean inning? That's what we hear all the time when somebody gets put in. Well, why are you taking this guy? Or why? Buto wasn't pitching bad. He walked the 9-hitter, which is inexcusable. You shouldn't do that. But we just assume Diaz comes into the ball game to face Profar, and Profar doesn't hit the ball to right field and over the wall. We just assume that. You gotta pay attention to the game. It's not like Buto was struggling there. He wasn't. He was fine. He left one pitch over the plate. That pitch over the plate, I wish he would have thrown to the 9-hitter. So the 9-hitter could have hit it over the wall. And then everybody would have got their wish because Mendoza would have took out Buto and brought in Diaz for a 4-out save. If the 9-hitter would have hit the ball over the wall and the Mets would have still had a 2-1 lead. So you would have had Diaz for 4. Why did we just assume that Diaz would have gave up nothing? Absolutely, Hector. It is a tough one. It sucks. I know there were some people, Hector, I think you probably heard it on, a couple of times when you were alive as well. How many people thought the Mets were going to lose 3 out of 4 or get swept, right? I think I said it earlier, 84% of 4-game series ends in a split, right? Look, the Mets had it in their hands. Regardless of how we lost the ball game, right? We could put any pitcher we wanted in. Doesn't mean the results were going to change. The offense scored 2 runs today. The offense had bases loaded with 1 out, didn't get insurance runs. You can't keep a team in the bowl game with a Padres team that I said earlier today in my live. They've been extremely good in coming back in ball games during their hot stretch. It has been slowing down a little bit, but they're dangerous late in games when they have an opportunity to come back in ball games. The Mets kept them in the ball game when they could have easily added to their lead, and they did not. Oh, no, Hector, listen, I'm not happy with a split. But it should have been 3 out of 4. Right? I don't think anybody's on the other side of that. But they got to come out on Tuesday. They got to play the hottest team in baseball in the Arizona Diamondbacks. You got to take the series, right? I know some are going to say, oh, we got to sweep. Well, sure. I'll pray to whatever God I need to for the sweep. But they got to win the series. That's a must. Can't lose 2 out of 3 coming back or going to Chicago. Because now you definitely got to try to sweep the White Sox. And with the Mets playing, half-assed baseball against bad teams, not as easy as it sounds. You take 2 out of 3 against Arizona. At the very, very least, you take 2 out of 3 against the White Sox. You're coming back home, winning some series. Sucks you split against the Padres when you should have had 3 out of 4. You come back home. You had a solid road trip. I mean, we basically lived on the West Coast this month. Get back home. Take care of more business. That's it. That's it. We could talk about the bullpen. We could talk about who should have not or could have been in the spot in that bullpen. Regardless of who's in the game, they need to get the job done. Don't just assume that whoever would have been in there besides Buto would have got the job done. Because 2 out of the 3 guys that everybody mentioned, Buto, Maton, Diaz, 2 out of 3 didn't get the job done. Very simple. Yeah, Ricardo, I understand that, but the Mets beat up Dylan Cease, right? I don't look – the Mets have been pretty damn good against good pitchers. I'm not too worried about that, right? Crochet, what do you got to do? You got to make him work. You got to get up his pitch count. He's a guy that is thinking about his arm It's a guy that's not going to go deep into ball games. He's not overthrown. He's not throwing a ton of pitches. He's coming out of the ball games. If I'm not mistaken, his last 2 outings, I don't think he was pitching more than 70-something pitches because he's protecting his arm. So get him out of the ball game early. Get to a terrible White Sox bullpen. I agree, Hector. I agree with you. The bullpen needs to get the job done, regardless of who's in the ball game. You got to lead. You got to hold it. But at the same time, when you continue to leave people on base constantly and you have bases loaded with 1 out, you got to add on runs. It's happened too much with this team. Because what happens, right, Hector? We talked about this 100 times, right? You keep a team in the ball game. Now your pitcher's got to be perfect. Got to be perfect. One hiccup, and the ball game is either almost out of your reach or it's out of your reach. That's what happened in today's game, right? I complained that the New York Mets don't score a lot of runs between the 4th and the 7th inning. They scored 2 runs in those innings. From the 1 to 3 and 8 to 9, they didn't do nothing. The top of the 9th, I mean, the at-bats were terrible. Like, I think I did, was it Scott? I don't remember Suarez came in the 9th. I think he threw like 9 pitches, maybe 10. The bullpen, the guys didn't get the job done. Trusted guys that we trust didn't get the job done. I don't know if you were here, Hector, when I said it, but Buto killed himself when he walked the number 9 hitter. That is inexcusable. The home run to Profar, I don't care who's on the mound. Anybody could give up a pitch down the middle and get knocked over the wall. I'm not mad at him about the home run. I'm mad. I was more pissed about the walk that led to the home run. You can't walk the number 9 hitter. After you got the first batter out, the number 8 hitter with 1 out. You got to let the number 9 hitter get on base by swinging that bat. If he hits the ball over the wall, it's a 2-1 ball game. And pretty sure that if Mendoza probably would have took Budo out at that point and brought in Diaz. But we can't assume that Diaz would have got the job done because he didn't do it in the 9th. Profar could have hit the home run in Diaz, and now you would have had Diaz coming in the 9th probably again, continuing, and who knows how that would have worked out. So we can make the combination any way we want. The fact of the matter is, 2 out of your 3 trusted arms didn't get the job done with a lead. The offense needed to get a couple more insurance runs. They had opportunities. They didn't. And the bullpen had to do the job. They didn't do it. They split the series. Mets are 5 games over 500, back to 2.5 games. After the Braves lost, the Mets did not take advantage of them losing. Again, hottest team in baseball, right? The Padres were one of the hottest teams in baseball when the Mets came to town. And let's be honest, guys, the Mets outplayed the Padres in a series. That's why it's probably even more frustrating because they deserve to win 3 out of 4. But being deserving to win doesn't mean you actually won. You got to get the job done. They didn't do it. Boo-hoo. Pick your head up. Enjoy your off day tomorrow. Kick ass in Arizona. Take 2 out of 3 because you're playing a dangerous game if you don't win 2 out of 3 in Arizona. If you only win 1 game, you definitely got to sweep the White Sox because that road trip is not going to be looking good if you take 2 out of 3 against the White Sox and lose 2 out of 3 against Arizona. Because now you're going to be, a game like 27, 28 left in the season. You come back home, and you better have a damn good homestand. So, listen, tough loss, right? There's enough time, Met fans, after a tough loss, think this team is in the drain, right? Somebody in the chat earlier said the Mets are not good enough. Silly question. That's a silly comment because that's not true. They are good enough. Just because of 1 bad loss doesn't mean you just throw in a towel and saying they're not good enough. You wouldn't have said that if the Mets would have took 3 out of 4. Yeah, the Padres were the hottest team in baseball, and the Mets outplayed them. And yeah, when they came to Citi Field, they were one of the better teams too. Look, unfortunately, the Mets could the Mets still catch the Padres? Sure. I mean, it's not likely, but they could. In this case scenario, if they do catch them, the Mets have the tiebreaker. Oh, in the season series, if that comes about. It might not, probably not, but if it does, we have the tiebreaker. Obviously, being within 2.5 games of the Braves is not great, but you got to be within that or close, even closer to the Braves when you face them at the end of September. I know that's 26 games from now, but that's where you need to be, or better, or in front of the Braves. But the fact is, I'm a broken record, guys. Sorry to keep saying it, but winning series gets you between 80. If you split that 4-game series, the last 4-game series, I think somebody said is the Phillies, right? You split that series, you win the majority of your series, not all of them, but majority of them. Going forward, you're between 85 and 88 wins, give or take. It's looking like the way the Braves are playing that it might be 86 to 87 wins. Right now, the Mets have 68. Do the math. There's 31 games left to go. If they're 20 and 11, that's 88 games. Right? If they're 15 and 15, probably not going to be enough. You're probably going to have to be 4 or 5 games over 500 over these next 31, which is not impossible. It's doable. Should be more than doable. This team is good enough to do it. You play 4 or 5 games over 500, you're around that 85 win mark. Is that going to be enough? It's going to be very close. I'm telling you, it's probably going to come down to that Braves series in September, because the Mets and the Braves haven't been 2.5 games apart for a while. It's been one game, half a game, 2.5. So the way both teams are playing, and the Mets didn't even lose a lot of ground when the Braves won 7 out of 8 or 6 out of 8 over this last week and a half. The Mets got to continue to win series. Get a sweep here or there. That's an extra win. That's an extra crooked number in the win column. That's what they need to do. So, guys, tough loss today. It felt like it was in the bag. You had your guys on the mound that are trusted from the fans and Mendoza. Right? This wasn't Ottavino in the ball game, and everybody's questioning what the hell is he doing in there. This wasn't even Stanek in the ball game. It was Jose Butto and Edwin Diaz. 2 guys you need to go anywhere if you're the New York Mets, making the playoffs and in the playoffs. They didn't get the job done. Diaz had to get this team to the 10th inning. Maybe it would have been a different outcome. Maybe not. Jose Butto threw 1 bad pitch. The walk of the 9th hitter killed him. They didn't get the job done. The offense could have scored more runs. They had opportunities. They did it. But your 2 trusted guys, at least Butto, had a 2-run lead. He figured it out in the 7th. He didn't figure it out in the 8th. Diaz came in a tie ball game. Get the job done. No excuse. They didn't do it. Enjoy the off day tomorrow. I'm going to talk to Hector. I'm going to talk to Hayden. Maybe we'll add somebody to the roundtable tomorrow. It's an off day. We should do a roundtable going into that Arizona series if everybody's available. I know Chris is out of the country, so he's not going to be available. But Hayden, Hector, and myself, or probably me and Hector. I'm not sure. I think Hayden's back in school, so we'll see if he can get. Maybe he'll come on, but maybe we'll have a couple other people on. We'll see. But tomorrow, we talk about the loss today, the Padres series. Talk about the Arizona series. We'll talk about our displeasure. where the Mets clearly outplayed the Padres, and the series result didn't show that we outplayed them because it was a split. But going into Arizona, they need to take 2 out of 3 at a minimum, because you don't want to put yourself behind the 8 ball going into Chicago against the White Sox and needing to sweep. We should sweep them, but if you take 2 out of 3 in Arizona, minimum 2 out of 3 against the White Sox, best case scenario, sweeping them, and then you come back home and hopefully gain a game, possibly 2, against the Atlanta Braves. So, guys, Mets lose 3-2, 68-63. Tough loss. Jose Quintana pitched very well. Buto and Diaz didn't get the job done. The offense, 2 runs, not enough. With that said, guys, appreciate you guys hanging on, hanging out after the ball game on this Sunday, almost 8 o'clock. Tough loss, guys. But let's rebound, get back up on our feet, take a breather tomorrow. Me and Hector and others on the roundtable will scream enough. I promise. We had a little therapy session today. The roundtable seems like it's always a therapy session for all of us. So with that said, guys, thank you for tuning in to another Mets post-game show right here on the channel. 2-game in San Diego. Split in the series. Head into Arizona after the off day tomorrow. With that said, enjoy your night, everybody. Enjoy your work week. Enjoy your Monday. I'll see you tomorrow on the roundtable with possibly Hector, possibly others. We'll find out. Definitely will be shows tomorrow. If it ain't the roundtable, it'll be other shows as well. With that said, everybody have a great night. Let's go, Mets. Brush this off your shoulders, guys, and come back tomorrow. Calm, cool, collective, and get ready for the Diamondbacks in Arizona. Have a good night, guys. Let's go, Mets. And I'll see you next time. Good night.
TS Mets of New York town. Oh, the butcher and the baker and the people on the streets, where do they go? To meet the Mets! Oh, they're hollering and cheering and they're jumping in their seats. Where do they go?